Hi there, meteorologist Peyton Malone here. Thanks for joining me for your daily tropical weather update. It is June the 9th, and June the 9th featuring nothing going on in the Atlantic basin. So things are still quiet across the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic. Not terribly unusual for this early part of the season, but you go over the western parts of, go to the west here towards Mexico and out in the Pacific, things are active. They've actually had a slew of storms form over the past week or so already on the C-name storm. We've got Barbara on the verge of becoming a hurricane here west of Mexico, and then we've got Cosme, which is a tropical storm. These two storms very close in nature, and notice we may have additional development behind these two named storms. Again, this is in the western basin or the eastern Pacific, and uses a whole different name list than what we use over in the Atlantic basin. So we're not expecting anything to form in the Gulf here anytime soon. At least for another 7 days, things are looking nice and quiet. These two storms, been interesting to watch them. It looks like Barbara's on the verge of a hurricane. It'll stay, both of them, west of Mexico. Puerto Vallarta here, there's Cabo, and as these two storms move north, notice they start to weaken, and they weaken simply for one reason. Well, they run out of warm water temperatures, so they're currently sitting on the edge of that 80-degree threshold. They will be into cooler water temperatures here over the next couple of days before they dissipate. Of course, very warm closer to Mexico and into the Gulf here. Much of the Gulf is in the mid-80s at this point. The Caribbean is also sitting in the mid-80s. Again, fairly normal as we get into our summery months. The Gulf is almost always hospitable or warm enough to support a tropical system. The upper atmosphere, though, isn't. So if you've been watching the past week or two, the GFS model specifically was fairly aggressive and very consistent with showing a storm entering the Gulf the second week of June, which is where we're at, and it's not happening. So what happened? Well, the steering pattern right now and through this week, you've got the Bermuda High, and there's an extension of the Bermuda High extending over the Gulf waters. What that has done is it's kept all the active showers and storms down in Central America. What the Gulf was doing was it was struggling with how strong this high pressure was going to be, which is normal for the GFS. It does it all the time, all throughout hurricane season. So when it was thinking the high pressure was weaker, it was grabbing some of these showers and storms and spinning them up into a storm and pushing them into the Gulf. Well, now that it's realized that the ridge of high pressure is stronger, it's realized that none of these storms are getting pulled north right now. And so all those showers and storms over Central America are getting pushed in the Pacific. Those are what have been becoming storms. So this type of pattern usually supports a more active Pacific basin and a less active Atlantic, less active Gulf or Caribbean. So that's why the GFS model has finally backed off on there being a hurricane in the Gulf this week. It just isn't going to happen here. The ridge is too strong, and that's going to dominate the steering pattern for the time being. Now that ridge, it's likely going to stay strong throughout the entire week here. And while we'll be dealing with showers and storms along the northern Gulf, they're not rooted in a tropical nature. They're not rooted in a tropical wave or tropical depression. So things are still going to be quiet for a while longer. The Atlantic basin as a whole is still dealing with some outbreaks of Saharan dust. Again, this is completely normal for this time of year. We typically see the most active part of the Saharan dust outbreaks in June, sometimes in July too, and then things will start to settle down as we head into August and September, naturally when hurricane season begins to increase. So the Saharan dust is just one part of many factors on that keeps the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic nice and quiet. It's not solely thanks to the dust that things are quiet, but that's helping us out. And if you do have travel plans to the Caribbean islands here, starting up down in the Lesser Antilles right now, some dust, they'll have more rounds coming in, and then that dust will work its way through the Caribbean. Just some patchy dust across parts of the Gulf here, nothing terribly unusual about it. So again, nothing really problematic going on in the Atlantic. Looks like it's probably going to stay quiet for a while longer as the Pacific basin sees all the action for a little while longer. So we'll take it while we got it. First name storm, if we ever get it or when we do get it, will be Andrea for the Atlantic basin. And then after that, it is Barry. But right now we're enjoying it being nice and quiet out there. We've got updates on the tropics all season long. You can watch us here on WWL Plus, all of our other streaming platforms, or WWLTV.com for the latest forecast. Thanks for joining me.